Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney and I am so excited for today's video. We're going to be talking all about Lykke. Lykke is the Danish word for happiness, and if you didn't know, Denmark is one of the happiest countries in the world. So they can clearly teach us a lot about how we can live our lives in order to just be happier people. So this book, The Little Book of Lykke, Secrets to the World's Happiest People, this book was written by the CEO of the Happiness Research Institute in Copenhagen. So it has a lot of studies and research behind it. And I am just so thankful that I found this book. It has completely changed how I view my life. I'm going to try my very best to explain what Lykke is and how you can implement it into your life based on what this book talks about. Of course, I want you to go pick this up for yourself. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below, because at the core of it all, I think all we really want is to live happy and fulfilled lives. That's definitely what I've been focusing on a lot recently in my own life, and here on my channel too. I kind of have that theme throughout most of my videos. So there are 6 essential factors that all of the happiest nations in the world have in common, and the first one is togetherness. Speaking as someone who lives in America, in our culture we definitely focus on being an individual, being individualistic, and kind of trying to avoid interaction as much as possible. At least a lot of people do that. Or they say, I hate people, or I don't have any friends. Even though you do, it's definitely easier and more relatable, I guess. Maybe that's why people do it, to focus on the negatives and to really emphasize the negatives, saying that you don't have any friends or that you hate people, which obviously isn't true. But in Denmark, the most foundational block of happiness is community and the community you're living in. And this includes their neighbors. They view their neighbors as family. Reading this chapter definitely made me realize that I don't put any emphasis on trying to meet my neighbors or try to meet new people out in public. And it made me realize that I really have no reason to complain about being lonely when I'm putting in 0 effort into meeting anybody new. It made me think about how often I reject people from being nice to me. It's just so ingrained in us to believe that people have ulterior motives. I think this book definitely made me have that realization that I need to really work on that. You have to find the good in the world. There is good in the world still. It's not just some dangerous place where we have to fend for ourselves. So their perspective on community even goes down to taxes. Denmark has some of the highest taxes in the world. And based on this book, 9 out of 10 of them happily pay their taxes because they see it as happiness doesn't come from owning a bigger car. It comes from knowing that every person you know and love in your community is going to be taken care of in their time of need, and that they are all in this together. And reading that made me think about life in a completely different way. That just really made me think of community and how far we've come from that in America. So here are some tips to practice togetherness that I found so beautiful and that I'm gonna be implementing into my own life. Blackout night. This is where you turn off all TVs, phones, electronics, and you have friends over, you have family over, and you just communicate. You talk, you can read, you can paint, you can play games, anything that doesn't involve technology, and you're just there together without any distractions. Creating distraction-free environments are very, very important to the Danish people, and that is something I'm 100% incorporating into my life. This book also recommends lighting spaces with candlelight. I have been loving lighting candles like this. The glow of a candle immediately makes you want to get into a storytelling mood. Like when you're at a campfire, you all talk about your lives, you tell stories. When you have a dinner that is lit by candlelight, the dinner no longer revolves around the food. It revolves around the conversation and the togetherness aspect of it. The book also talks about using soft edges, which means sitting on your front porch to welcome the neighbors to say hi, or reading in a public garden, being open and visible for conversations. We are a culture of self-isolation, and I fell victim to this. I told you I have had an epiphany from this book of how bad I am at creating that community in my life. And I hope you guys know that you can have a community here with me. I want you guys to talk to me like I'm your friend. I want you guys to communicate with me on this video and tell me what your thoughts are as well. I am not just a one-person show. I want this to be a huge family here. So Leave comments as this video goes on. I want to hear your thoughts. So the next essential factor of happiness is money. Yes, there is a correlation between money and happiness, but the correlation pretty much ends after your basic needs are met. So when you have a roof over your head, you can put food on the table, you can support your children and your partner. But the more of something we have, the less happy we are because of it. The book uses the example that buying unnecessary purchases is pretty much equivalent to the happiness you receive from a 5th slice of cake. Not much. Once we have enough money to meet our basic needs, that's where the happiness correlation ends. Again, speaking as just an American, I don't know how it is for the rest of the world. I can assume it's very similar, that we are driven to want to keep up with everybody else. Everybody you see on social media, you kind of naturally want to be like. You want the things they have, you buy the things they like, you want to show your worth and your success as if you're these other people. Social media has really tied our worth and our happiness together. I think I had another one of those light bulb moments when the book mentioned ambitious people. For ambitious people, once we reach a goal, we're not satisfied. Our mind goes to the next thing. It's continuously raising the bar and creating a constant feeling of dissatisfaction with your life and your achievements. It really emphasized how the Danes appreciate the process of getting to that goal, because the process of like growing a tomato and watching it become ripe is just as good, if not better, than when you actually get to eat it. Happiness is the byproduct of the process and not the pot of gold at the end. And when I read that, my mind went. So if we appreciate the money that we do have and try to live a comfortable life with that and not focus on buying all these materialistic things that we think other people will like us more if we have, or we'll feel happier if we have, but we really won't. We can really work on ourselves and our relationship with money and focus on spending money on experiences and not on these frivolous things that really don't matter in the end. This book suggested that we should book experiences a few weeks or months into the future. That way we have a long time to really experience the excitement about it. When you have a vacation coming up, you're just like, oh my God, what do I pack? What's the itinerary gonna be like? You just get so excited about all the things you're gonna do once you're there. But if you book it tomorrow, you don't have that same time to get really excited. Another thing it said is that if you want to make a purchase, to have some sort of memory or experience attached to it. For example, I purchased a ring when I was in Milan, and it's a pearl ring, and I bought it with the intention of being able to pass that down to my future daughter, because I just love the idea of having a beautiful piece of jewelry from another country where I had this beautiful experience there. It's definitely more exciting to have something that has a memory attached to it, and that way you're not just spending your money frivolously. I'm actually thinking about doing a challenge where I spend like $0 on fun for a month. So let me know if you'd want me to make that video. I think it'd be really hard, and especially around Christmas time, but we'll see. And the Danes practice togetherness on a budget. So here we're mixing togetherness with money. So the book recommended creating a free fun fellowship. Each friend takes a turn at planning an activity that's either free or very low budget, and then you all meet up and do that together. And that can be having a potluck dinner or picnic, going to a museum, going swimming, going hiking, riding your bike together. The point is to remove the value of money and happiness, because sometimes if money becomes tight, we can't hang out with friends, we can't go to the fancy dinner that they're planning on having. We become and feel isolated. So doing things that require zero money and really still being able to have fun with your friends is really important. So again, I really recommend that you do pick up this book, because I'm just gonna go through the last few factors pretty quickly, because the first two were just really inspirational to me. So the third essential factor to happiness is freedom. Freedom in the sense of work-life balance, which Americans have none of that. In America, it's very much hustle culture. If you work all day, you come home, you can't get work off your mind. You'll still be getting texts sometimes from your boss. It's hard to leave work at work and separating work from play. This cycle makes us feel bad because ultimately we're missing out on what it really means to be alive. The Danes' average work week is 37 hours, where America's average work week is 47 hours. Another thing I found so interesting is that the Danes have an incredibly high level of trust within their community and their country as a whole. Trust that would be absurd to Americans specifically. Again, because I am an American, that's what I'm speaking on. It feels like we almost can't trust anyone. For example, when I worked at my old job, I was at the counter with my coworker and a man came in who said he worked at one of the restaurants that was opening up down the street, and he brought some like stew like in a little takeout container for us to try it out and I guess spread the word on the new restaurant and how good the food was. So my coworker put it in the team fridge, and the next day another coworker came in and she was like, "What is this?" So we told her that the guy gave us this free food, and she immediately was like, "I'm throwing this out right now. It could be poisoned, blah, blah, blah." And I honestly would have tried it. I don't really care, but it just goes to show you the level of trust we have here. We are taught to think that everyone is out to get you and that kindness is rare, but trust stems from something that we all really need to work on, which is empathy. And the Danes are taught empathy in their school systems, which is brilliant, but a way to constantly be working on this skill is to read fiction books. When we read fiction, we are put right into somebody else's life, especially if we choose a book where there's a main character of a different race, a different gender, a different religion. You can't help but broaden your worldview when you read fiction books. And then the last essential factor to happiness is kindness. But to Danes, kindness and friendliness are not the same thing. Danes value genuine kindness, but sometimes we may talk about being kind and doing kind things, but the Danes know that actions are way more important than words. So the book says to do random acts of kindness, but intentionally. So yes, you can pay for somebody's Starbucks behind you in the line, but it's more powerful and meaningful to you when you do it to somebody that you know. Like Venmoing a friend $5 to go get a coffee who's had a rough day, or telling a friend how much you valued their advice they gave to you the other day, or by washing all of your roommate's dishes, or if you see your neighbor struggling with their groceries outside, you go over there and just help them without asking. That's the main thing that this section taught me, and that's the difference between our version of kindness and the Danes' version of kindness. By asking somebody if they need help with something, or by saying to a friend, "Tell me if you need anything. Let me know if you need any help." You are putting a big burden on people because they don't want to feel like they're putting any pressure on you or they're burdening you in any way. Just help them. This book taught me that kindness comes from anticipating somebody else's needs before they ask. And ask questions to your friends and family like, how are you really doing? The book also talks about volunteering and how that's a great way to show kindness and also go out and meet new people. And doing something kind naturally makes you feel good in return. I really don't like the argument that people sometimes make where they say if you are doing something kind to make yourself feel good, that it's not good, that you're a bad person, that it's a bad thing. I just think it's so much easier for people to point out the bad and the negative in any situation. Being kind always makes both parties feel good. In fact, the part of the brain that is activated in response to pleasure also lights up when people think about giving money to charities. We are wired to feel good when we do something kind. Helping each other is good for our species to be able to survive, so it's no wonder that our brain makes us feel good when we do it. So I know this video was long and rambly, but I'm just so inspired by this book. I really want you guys to go out and read it. These are just a few of the tips that this book touches on how we can implement the Danish way of living into our lives and to live happier and more meaningful lives. If you are Danish or Nordic, I find your lifestyle so inspiring, and I think so many people can benefit from learning more about it. And I think that we should all live by your example and focus more on the root of happiness. So thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys very soon with another video. Bye!